Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Geek in the Garage. So today I want to do a video about the Tool Check Plus system here. I did a video about this a little while ago, just kind of comparing the difference between these two right here. But at the time, I had just recently gotten this one, and I wanted to know what the differences were between the two because I couldn't find a lot of information online. Now I've had a few months to kind of play around with these guys, and then also add this one in here as well. So just want to give you an overview of everything, what's included in them, what one adds, what one subtracts, and then which one I think is kind of the best bang for the buck if you can get it. And so let's kind of get started from there. So basically, I'll come to this guy in a little bit. This one was actually recommended to me by one of my commenters, but I will get to that here in a second. But first, if you saw my previous video, we got the Tool Check Plus, the Tool Check Plus 2. There is a Tool Check Plus 1, which actually goes right in the middle of these two. And really the only difference between that one is the case and some cosmetic things, and I'll explain that here in a moment. But basically the Tool Check Plus, if you guys don't know, it's by a company called Wera, which is a German company with a lot of their stuff made in the Czech Republic. Very, very high quality tools. They're definitely not cheap. Something like this, ranges on Amazon for right around $100, give or take $10 or $15, depending on the time of year. But basically what you're getting with this is you're getting something that you can just kind of toss in your pocket. If you have this and a drill or impact with you, you can accomplish a lot of things, wherever you are. So what you're going to see is you're going to get a little bit driver right here. So all the bits that are in here can go in there. It includes a 1/4 inch hex to 1/4 inch square, so you can use all the sockets that are in here. And then one thing to kind of mention is on all three of these, before I go any deeper, is there's these two just chrome sockets. These ones I added myself. It does not come with the sets, and I'll explain what I added and how here towards the end. But basically, these are the bits that you're going to get, and really the ones to kind of focus on this particular set is these gold ones, and these are basically the posi drive that come with this. One thing about the Tool Check Plus, pretty much all of them except for the little guy. One thing that I didn't like about them is that they do a lot of repeat bits. So there's like a lot of Phillips number 2, Phillips number 1, stuff like that. Where I would rather they have a bunch of different bits in there. There are other tool sets that accomplish that, but as far as quality is concerned, Wera is very difficult to beat, even though it is pretty pricey. But again, you get a little bit driver right here. You get a little pass-through ratchet, which is very, very nice. Has a little thumb wheel on it as well. And somewhat similar to the Icon one, if you guys are familiar, at least the original one just doesn't have the flex head on there. And then this basically goes in there, locks into place, comes with this little extension. This thing is great, again, to kind of toss into an impact or into a regular drill, and the bits lock into place, which for me is kind of a game changer when I'm building things, so that way the bit doesn't come out of the extension like it does on a lot of the regular ones. And then as far as sockets are concerned, this is the metric version. So you can see 5.5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and 12, and 13. So there definitely are some skips, but it's going to be your most common ones. And then basically what I did to it here is I added a 1/4 inch and a 3/8 just to have on there. It's actually very, very simple to do. I just, these rails that you can buy at Harbor Freight, usually for around $1 or $2, depending on what sales they're having. I just took a couple of those off of there, and they fit on here. You kind of just bend them a little bit into place, and the socket fits on there pretty well. It doesn't fall off or anything like that. I've taken these around. I've never had any of them fall off. So it gives you a little bit more functionality. You could always add, for example, maybe, if you use a 9mm or 11mm or even both, and do that instead of the 1/4 inch and 3/8. There's a few videos out there where people will kind of show the different bits or the different sockets they've added and the reasoning behind it. But again, whatever works best for you. For me, I do use a 1/4 inch quite a bit in the 3/8 every once in a while, so I figured it would be nice to have on there. The 9 and the 11, I don't really use that often. So this is the Tool Check Plus, and really the only difference between this and the Tool Check Plus 1 is, again, the case, which I thought was interesting. So this top part is going to be green, this tealish green, versus this clear. And it has this locking mechanism on the side, which this one lacks. And all that locking mechanism for is this kind of pivot right here. This one just kind of does it freely. Although, it usually does stay in place pretty well unless you really want it to open. Where this one, it basically opens freely. unless you lock it into place, and then now it's going to keep that basically in place without moving whatsoever. So that's one difference between the Tool Check Plus and the Tool Check Plus 1. The other difference is you can kind of see they have, you know, these nice, it's almost like a heat shrink with the numbers on there, which make it much easier to find the bit that you're looking for. So that's the difference between the Tool Check Plus and the Tool Check Plus 1. So if there's a big price difference, you know, I would just go with the regular Tool Check Plus, because functionality wise, outside of this lock, you're not going to really see much of a difference. However, you know, these numbers are very nice to identify very quickly based off of color and things like that. So it does make things a little bit easier to use. So and then with both of these sets, there's also an Imperial version if you guys want, you know, SAE sockets and bits in there. But, you know, I use metric way more than I use SAE, so that's why I have both of these as the metric version. Other than that, other than the lock and this piece right here, there is a big difference on the bit selection on this one. I'll get to that in one sec. The bit driver appears to be exactly the same. The ratchet and extension all, at least to me, appear to be exactly the same. If there is a difference and you guys know, let me know, but you know, I didn't see any difference whatsoever. But the main difference is going to be the bit selection. So I'm going to kind of show you right here. And what they basically did with the Tool Check Plus 2 versus the Plus and the 1 is they got rid of these gold guys, the posi drive. So you still have your regular Phillips, but no posi drive. So if you guys really want to have posi drive in there, then I suggest sticking to the Tool Check Plus or Plus 1. But they did add the Robertson square bits in this set instead of having the posi drive. So that's really the big difference, because you can see right here there's 5 posi drive, and here there is 5 square bits, and that's it. The rest of the bits are identical across the board, as are the sockets that are included. So that's the difference between these two guys right here. Again, you know, if I was going to buy this, you know, all over again, I would probably go with the Tool Check Plus 2, skip the Plus and Plus 1, unless, again, you really want the posi drive bits and you don't care about the square bits. I do use the square bits every once in a while, and I don't use the posi drive as much as, obviously, the regular Phillips, you know, that come on here. So that's your difference right there. Now, one thing I had kind of mentioned is, you know, I did a video on this guy right here. This is a Wera ratcheting screwdriver, little super tiny guy. You know, I saw this thing on Doc's channel, you know, Last Best Tool, a while back. You know, I ended up ordering one to check it out because I really do like ratcheting screwdrivers overall. This thing's about, you know, 25, 30 bucks. Pretty expensive for a little guy, but it works really well. And it's a little bit bigger than this one that comes with it. You know, when I got this in the mail, I actually thought it was going to be closer to this size. And I had mentioned, you know, I wish it was a little bit smaller, because then I could fit it in here, because that's the one thing that would make this set, you know, perfect, or at least I thought would make this set perfect, was making this into a ratcheting bit driver. So luckily, one of my commenters, which thank you so much for pointing it out, told me, hey, if you look at the Tool Check Mini, the bit driver that comes with it is bigger. So you guys can kind of see the size comparison right here. So it is definitely a good chunk bigger. It is a little bit bigger than the ratcheting one, but the handle portion is pretty much identical. It's just this bit that sticks out. So you can actually take this bit driver completely out, put this one in there, and fits in there pretty much like it was meant to be in there, with the exception of having this little piece stick out, but luckily it's not sharp or anything like that. So what he had mentioned to me, which I thought was pretty genius, is if you guys are familiar with Wera or saw any of my videos on it, is Wera does a advent calendar every year that has a bunch of different tools in there. There's some years where you get things like, actually let me grab one, I have something in front of me, where you get things like, you know, screwdrivers and things like that. They usually will toss in something like you know, bottle openers, etc. So it's, you know, it's a fun thing to be had. Usually it's fun colors and stuff like that. But it just so happened in the 2024 Advent Calendar, which I'll link down below, it's still available on Amazon if you guys are interested. It actually comes with this full set. So, you know, every day you open it up. If you do that, I just, you know, opened it basically. You can check out the video. I'll have a link to the video for it as well if you guys are interested. But basically, it comes with everything that you see here outside of these two little guys, the two chrome sockets. And it actually even adds a couple of interesting things as this case, this type of kind of a bottle opener, and then salt and pepper shakers that look similar to their craft form, handles. So for that one is $99. It does fluctuate in price, but the funny thing is that if you were to buy this thing just separately, it's about $89. So if you want kind of these fun little things for an extra $10, you can go ahead and do that. If not, you can buy just the mini by itself. There is one difference that I saw, and if there's any other differences, you guys can please tell me. But this one comes with, all the bits that you kind of see here. So your most common Torx, hex, metric hex, I should say. And then it comes with posi drive and Phillips, one slotted. And it comes with the 8, 10, and 13 millimeter sockets. The one that you can buy this separately outside of the Advent calendar also includes a 7 millimeter. I don't really use 7 millimeter, so for me, that didn't really matter. But this set is actually really, really cool. There's a few differences between this versus this. So let's take out some things so you guys can kind of compare and contrast. So decide which one is going to be best for you. Now, ultimately, something like this, really price-wise, is not that different than something like this. We're going to get a lot more stuff over here. So this one these guys might just be a better value overall. But the items that you get in here some of them are more valuable than the rest of this stuff right here. And I will explain that here in a second. So with this one, like I said, you're going to get your just normal kind of bit driver, pass-through bit driver that also has the adapter so you can put a socket on there. Where this one includes what's called their Zyklop. So it's this little super tiny ratcheting screwdriver. When you kind of compare the heads of them, they look very, very similar. I mean, I'd say they're pretty much, I'm sure they use an identical mechanism. Obviously, this guy is much smaller, but the cool thing about this is just a 1/4 inch hex bit, so it will fit in pretty much any 1/4 inch bit driver, right? So, if you use, this is the ratcheting one, I'm going to set this one aside for right now, but if you just use the included one, now you have yourself a nice comfort grip ratchet right here versus this guy, where this one you can't really do anything else with. It's just, it is what it is. Where this one, you have this option. But you also have the option where if you want it just maybe a little bit bigger, you can add it to the extension like this as well. So you have a few more options than you do with something like this. And these ones are actually pretty expensive by themselves. This little guy is probably over $40, which is, half the price of the rest of this stuff right here. This guy, like I said, is much smaller. Obviously, you guys can see it's like half the size almost. So this is truly something that you can fit in your pocket. And with something like this in your pocket, along with, again, like a drill or an impact, you're able to accomplish a lot of things. If you guys are, if it's a money is no object thing, which I know is rarely the case, but with a few upgrades, you can make this thing, I think, perfect. Like I said, it already comes with this Zyklop right here. And then for an additional, if I can get that in, there we go. For an additional $25 or so, $30, you can get this guy and have the ratcheting part as well. So you can now take this with you. You have a ratcheting bit driver, you have a comfort grip and stubby ratchet, you have a bit driver, you have a little bit of everything, which I think is pretty cool for what you're getting. And yeah, again, it's expensive, but a lot of Wera tools are going to be expensive. Definitely not on, par with, some of a lot more expensive stuff. I'm sure if Snap-on had something like this, it would be hundreds of dollars, not, 80 or 90. But, great quality tools. I've been really, really getting into Wera tools lately. I kind of started off, I think one of my first tools was the Tool Check Plus from them, and I was really, really impressed with the quality. Even though it was a little bit more expensive, and I've been, if you guys kind of can see my workbench, I added the precision screwdrivers here. I've added their regular screwdrivers. I've added their insulated screwdrivers and things like that. So it's definitely a company that I really, really like. Their handles are super, super comfortable, and their bits do not seem to wear out nearly as much as some other bits that I've used in the past. So tell me, what do you guys think? Was this video helpful to kind of compare the differences between them? You think it's silly to buy the advent calendar just to get these guys for 10 extra bucks, when for $10 less you can add the 7mm, or do you even need the 7mm? And then what do you guys think about adding the ratcheting screwdriver or ratcheting bit driver versus having just the normal bit driver in there? So tell me what you guys think. Please leave your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.